By show of hands, how many are veterans in this room right now? Thank you for your service. By a show of hands, how many here have every single person you need to fill every single requisition that you have? I didn't think so. Okay, how many of you have a veteran engagement platform, program, or culture for a vet-ready organization? How many of you have a registered apprenticeship program? Okay. We're going to try to inform you some things and make it a little easier on you to do what you are here to do and why the reason you showed up. I'm going to apologize right now because there's going to be a shortage of socks here shortly because this panel is going to blow your socks off. So we won't be able to find enough. And that's Jafi. The next thing is Jafi's agreed, due to solidarity and uniformity, that she's going to get the exact same haircut as the rest of us. So we're going to do that first. Brad, would you step up with the clippers, please? Okay, none of that is really, the last thing I said was a complete lie, but he thought of it was a great idea. Hey, I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves. I will tell you this. I've been in the workforce development space and the vet hiring space from the private sector to the public sector for well over a decade. And here we have two people who do it on the private sector from the company perspective and have done it on a high scale and in a way that engage completely within their companies, from a small carrier to a large carrier perspective. We also have a veteran Marine. So that means if you want to know what crayon you should eat with whatever drink you're having, he is the guy to talk to, right?
I prefer the blue ones, by the way.
Yeah, magenta is where I landed. So, but he's going to be able to give us quality information about what the DOL Vets has to offer to help you as a company engage more veterans, transitioning service members, and their families. With that, Josh, would you introduce yourself and go?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Again, I'm Josh Mecca. I'm the Director of Recruiting at Grammar Logistics, Central Midwest, Southeast, full chemical hazmat tanker company. Been in the hiring apprenticeship program now for, 4 or 5 years. We're one of the first to kick that off when I first met Dave, moving over to the FASTPORT arena. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jafi.
Hello, I am Jafi Roskey. I work for Werner Enterprises. I have been with Werner just over 10 years, 8 of those in the military realm. Prior to that, I was a fleet manager and operations supervisor. We have the industry first apprenticeship program for truck drivers and diesel mechanics, and last year we brought on transportation manager to our apprenticeship program.
My name is Levi Perkins. I'm the Assistant Director for United States Department of Labor, Veterans Employment and Training Service for the state of Kansas. So we do everything employment related and services to help our veterans transition from the military. I oversee our TAP programs in Kansas, Higher Vets Medallion program, and all of our employment resources that hopefully we can leverage from the federal government and the local level to assist all of you.
And as you heard my name and what my title is, but to let you know, FASTPORT's been in the workforce development space since late 2016. Since early 2017, we have onboarded over 23,000 apprentices into transportation jobs, truck drivers, diesel mechanics, freight brokers, you name it. I currently co-sponsor or manage 26 national programs across the United States and a couple territories. And about 26% of those folks are veterans. Prior to that, I directed and designed the Hunt Heroes program and hired 10,000 veterans in a 5-year window. So the people here and the panel has some resource knowledge. Don't hesitate to reach out to any of us if you're trying to make your life a little easier and trying to bring in quality people to your companies. Jafi, I'm going to start with you because I like picking on you right off the bat. You sit in on the meetings for Task Force Movement, and you're aware of the Trucking Action Plan because Werner was part of that as it started back in December of 21, and then Josh jumped into that as well with both feet. There's been a lot of talk among that group and from the White House on down about how industry needs to change how they engage populations, veterans or otherwise. I really like your perspective on that because I know that you've been really involved with that and those discussions quite a bit.
Yes. So how many are you of you are informed of task force movement? Anybody? Like he said, it started in December 21. It was an initiative to bring to the forefront the trucking industry of what we can do better to bring more veterans to the workforce. One of those initiatives was trying to elevate the brand. A lot of us in the industry were not familiar with how to brand ourselves to the service member. And that involved being educated and being informed of the needs of the service member and bringing that into the recruiting world. We've done a great job with that, but that is one aspect that we needed to do. But on the flip side, we also need to be educating and informing these service members on what we have to offer. When you go to a military installation, a job fair, they just think that we're truck driving, but we're so much more. We need to fill all these requisitions, whether it is in transportation management, safety, HR, accounts payable, you name it, we need to fill these recs, and these service members have zero idea about our industry. So we need to do a better job of elevating this brand, making it sexy, if you will, to bring them in to every aspect of the industry. There's so many different MOSs out there that they'll make a great associate for you if you just find the way to communicate that to them.
Great. Any other perspectives from the panel on that?
No, I'll tag in and say, you know, a lot of it is just finding those channels. You know, we got your positions. There's so many positions we have within our industry that people just aren't aware of. Everybody thinks of us as just driving trucks. I'd show of hands, anybody when they say that you're in trucking thinks that or everybody just assumes you drive. I know I get that a lot. But there's so much more to this industry that goes into supporting our drivers. So I think as long as we continue to work to improve our connectability, our relatability to those who are interested in being here, and get them to see those channels that are available, see that there's more than just one job in our industry. There's a full career path. But it's our job in this room as recruiters to really lay that out to people who are interested. We're a lot of the first points of contact. And so I would challenge you in this room too, make sure you learn, make sure you take some time, educate yourself on how we can expand upon our career paths, especially as you look through programs like what Dave has to offer here. I was new to apprenticeship when I found it, but as I explored it, a lot of the career paths are laid out. We just have to take the time to learn what they are, and then that expands into the rest of our recruiting world. But again, it just takes us taking our time to make that happen.
Thank you. I'll add this, and I was talking with them earlier, and I say this, I speak and talk to companies all across America. Your recruiting team, if they are unable to articulate a career path, then you're not competing. I don't care what population you're working with. It doesn't matter. If you must be able to articulate that career path and do it in an effective, coherent manner, not guaranteeing things. It's a career lattice in many cases, especially in the transportation industry. I don't know how many people who started in one position end up in something entirely different. When I was at JB Hunt, I had literally 7 different titles in HR, recruitment, safety, operations. I like to tell people I had more jobs than Barbie had careers. And so it is not a straight line. So, and you being able to articulate the possibilities of that is absolutely essential in today's market. I'll get off my soapbox on that. Levi, I got a question for you, and actually all of you, because I'd like the perspective from a smaller carrier, a large carrier, and from your perspective with DL Vets. What are the benefits of a registered apprenticeship program as opposed to just a training program or no training program? Because we got employers here that haven't trained or looking to train. They know they got to grow their own because we run out of drivers to steal from each other, and there's not enough new ones coming in that are qualified. It's just the state of being. So I've talked to several carriers in the last 2 years that have made that transition. So we really would like to understand what the qualities and the benefits of a registered apprenticeship program is as a whole and to veterans specifically. And I don't care who goes first, Levi?
For the registered apprenticeship program, you're looking at, do you want a basic program that you're going to have to build from the ground up and work your way through it, faults and slips along the way, or taking a registered apprenticeship program that's already been practiced, tried and true from other organizations that you can copy and paste and duplicate. What we're looking at, especially with Department of Labor, is I have over 200 service members transitioning out of the U.S. military every year. All 200,000 across the globe are going through our transition classes for 3 days, resume writing, interview skills, how to find a job. And we're telling them, if you find a company with a registered apprenticeship program, you will get higher wages, you will have a greater longevity, and you'll have more resources because they're going to give you everything you need to know about that job and that career field. But from our standpoint, we want to get our service members into that because that's the best growth and best opportunity for them. There's also a lot of resources for the individual veteran. So one thing we talk about, and we'll talk about later, is are you veteran friendly? Are you veteran ready? Do you even like veterans? What are you putting on the table? And do we want to talk about the military housing allowance now? Or save that for a little bit?
You do you, okay?
So
You're not,
one thing,
you got all jacked up on those blue crayons out there. I'm not going to be able to hold you back.
I mean, they mix them in the drinks now. It's amazing. I love those things.
The blue mojito and the blue crayons, I stirred it up. You're right.
One thing we want to look at is when I transitioned out of the Marine Corps in 2004, I did the invasion into Iraq. I was home for 5 months, was in Afghanistan. Did that for 6 months, and I was within 45 days of being in the States, I was out of the Marine Corps. I was looking for a new job and looking for a new career and didn't know what I wanted to do and went a lot of different places, and I'm here today. Our service members are looking for any opportunity, and you have those opportunities. You have great careers, great opportunities. Take the easier track to do it. We have our GI Bill benefits for education. If you're not going to go the traditional route for college and education, you can use them for registered apprenticeship. In Kansas City, if you do a registered apprenticeship, the housing allowance is $1,629 every month given to that service member. Don't let them lose out on that money and that opportunity. So if I'm working with an individual that we have through our American Job Centers and go, hey, I've got 2 trucking companies. This one has their own training program that you can go through and learn as you go. This one has a registered apprenticeship program. It's going to put $1,600 on the table day one that you can use of your benefits that you've earned. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to pick? And the wonderful thing about this within our agency vets, every state has its own individual director. CDLLife has my contact information. What I want to do is connect with each one of you, and I'm going to do a warm handoff so you can go to your individual director for your state and that you can get the resources from our agency. The government's only going to be so helpful, I'll be honest. But if you nag and you bother and you go to our people, you're going to get the resources. And I will tell you, within Department of Labor vets, our agency is fully committed to helping each one of you in here find truck drivers, find veterans, and get everything linked up and getting as many apprenticeships going as we can. Because the longevity's there. If we can put them in an apprenticeship, they will stay longer, they will perform better, and they'll do phenomenal.
Yeah.
Good answer. So let's do a two-parter here. I want to circle back to the registered apprenticeship program from the perspective of a carrier, because both of you have been intimately involved with that. From a large carrier and a small carrier perspective, a little different approach. You sponsored your own, you joined a current program, but the functionality really is the same and the effects are the same. So I really want y'all to address that. And then I want to circle back to the MHA a little bit, because monthly housing allowance, because there's a big mystery about what it is or isn't. So I want to clarify a few things and then we'll move on.
Yeah, so from the larger carrier perspective, we have our own apprenticeship program. Not sponsored by the intermediary. They're great, great program. It's nationwide. It's a recruiting tool for you. So if you're not using it as a recruiting tool for non-veteran and veteran alike, you need to get onto this. We promote it at all of our truck driving schools that we go to, military installations, on job boards, you name it. It is an earn and learn model. They are going to earn our wage for a truck driver, cents per mile, you name it, and then this MHA on top of it for these veterans. Currently, our program is a 2-year program, so they're going to earn an additional just over $30,000 tax-free in addition to their wage, directly from the VA into their pocket. That's a huge recruiting tool that you can use anywhere. So as a larger carrier, it's a definite benefit, and retention, like Levi was talking about, we see a greater interest in the veterans staying than we do the non-veterans because of this apprenticeship program. And when they complete the apprenticeship program through the Department of Labor, they're going to receive a certificate as a professional truck driver. In turn, that certificate can be turned into college credit at select colleges and universities across the U.S. So there's an added benefit for these truck drivers who want to continue their education.
From the smaller carrier perspective, again, it's a huge benefit, but I didn't have the same personnel resources as Jafi. But what we did have is a desire to want to help, and it took several months of stubbing my toe through various agencies. So I saw these carriers that had programs, but eventually we did find Dave and the FASTPORT team that were able to help us get our apprenticeship program put in place. And once we made that connection, we were given essentially a turnkey program where we had our training plans laid out. We had started an entry-level training program working with a couple schools in our market, and wanted to shore that up from a training standpoint. So finding the apprenticeship program gave us a roadmap. So that way, if something did happen, we knew exactly how that candidate was trained, how the program was to work. So it gave us the map to how to adequately train people. And again, one thing that I'm really big on is the importance of training and the importance of education. And again, I believe that our highways, as dangerous as they are, we're the professionals. We need to make sure that we're training this next generation to be professional as well. And the apprenticeship program really helps to make that happen. It gives our trainers even a certain peace of mind as they're training, that they know exactly what they're supposed to be training, and you don't have trainers doing things in different ways. So you put all that together, you get a much more qualified driver from an entry-level standpoint. And then even from a stickiness factor, we'll call the housing allowance what it is, right? I've had conversations with veterans in my fleet that were in that moment of, I don't know that I can do this. And we started talking, and they realized that part of that housing allowance, if they left us and didn't get right into another apprenticeship program, they were going to be out that $1,600 a month. So it did help us to convince people, let's buckle down, let's get through this, because everybody has that moment of doubt when you first get into trucking. I don't care what position you are. This is a tough industry to get into, but once you make it, you get over that hump, you kind of can't get out of it like Hotel California. But that being said, it is...
Check out, but you can't ever leave.
That's right. I know we've probably all tried. But that being said, still the monthly housing allowance gives those veterans that are transitioning out that peace of mind that, hey, if this doesn't work, or if I just can't do this, they know that they're going to at least have some sort of constant income while they figure out what they're going to do next.
Well, provide a little clarity, and thank you. That's great answers. Number one, has everybody still got their socks? Because they're doing a great job. Registered apprenticeship in itself shouldn't ever cost you more money than what you are or you're willing to spend to get the talent you need. Because either you train or you don't. If you don't, and you're thinking about training, you need to do it in such a way that protects you from a liability standpoint. Registered apprenticeship as it is, and Jafi's done this with Werner, we've done this with our national programs and our linkage with ATA, TCA, the Trucking Alliance, and et cetera, is we took the Department of Transportation language and wanted a professional safe truck driver, and Department of Labor language, we know that because we write that, and then the DOD IMAP, and we either met it or exceeded it on every single facet. Not only does that exist, so you got alignment with three federal entities. The ATA's adopted it. The TCA's adopted it. Trucking Alliance has adopted it. Every major organization in the industry has adopted it. So now, if you're thinking about liability, you can legitimately say this person was trained to a standard, a minimum standard that aligns itself with the DOT, DOL, the DOD IMAP, the ATA, the TCA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not a get out of jail free card, but you can legitimately say, I don't have negligence in training, because to his point, you can clearly show it and you can clearly argue it. That by itself is a significant tool. On the MHA, just so you know, it's called monthly housing allowance based off of where the person is training. So it varies by location. $1,629 in Kansas City. Wilmington, Delaware is $2,200. But it is going to be about $15,000 or more first year out, and to Jafi's point, it's about $30,000 for 2 years worth of apprenticeship. It is not money that a company has to account for. It's money just paid direct deposit directly to the veteran. What the company's buy-in and time stamp is, and I'm going to ask you to comment on this in just a second, literally is an electronic form. I can do it if I have use of all 6 fingers that I type with. I don't right now, it's 5, but I can do one in less than a minute. Jafi can do one probably in about 15 seconds blindfolded. And it's as you certify their hours, it goes in, they get paid. That's what it comes down to. You're averaging, how many a month?
Yeah. So I have about 370 veterans that are utilizing their educational benefit right now. And like Dave said, it's super easy. It doesn't take any more time. I can get all 370 of them done in about 6 hours. It sounds like a lot, but I dedicate 1 day to getting their hours in each month.
And being her own sponsor, she's updating a little more because you're doing status updates at the same time, right?
Yeah, so,
right,
but I also have non-veterans as well.
Right,
you
so
can choose
you're
to put
yeah.
just veterans in.
So
or
that's
you can do
everything.
both. Yep.
That's everything to administer what you're doing, being your own sponsor.
Correct.
And then and so you're updating statuses inside the Rapid system, and you're doing so she's doing a holistic thing. And most of our carriers now, he didn't have to do that, right? All he had to do is make sure that he updated a spreadsheet that said Jimmy's still here, Jill's on leave, Johnny quit, and Frank had completed the program, and then our team did the rest of it. So there's different ways of approaching it. There's 100 ways to get to the final result. Trust me on that. Okay, I'm going to move on from there, but I want to make clarity on that because it's a great thing, but everybody, normally what you hear is, yeah, but there's not a yeah, but here. All right, so Levi, back to you. What resources Department of Labor vets have to offer as a whole to an employer trying to engage veterans in a meaningful way and to be vet ready?
What I'm going to recommend is we are not a one-stop solution, even though we might say it on our websites. We are a value-added resource to every organization and everybody in this room. So the funnel approach that we've heard many times talked about today, and I've enjoyed all the different speakers I got to listen to, we're one more added piece to that. So Department of Labor is going to have many different facets. We're going to have our American Job Centers. The American Job Centers can post jobs for free, do recruitment, do screening, do interview prep, and we've got those in every corner of the United States. Then we have our veterans program that's specific for veterans. It's split in half. I've got business representatives that all they do is work with employers to post their jobs, recruit, screen, and find applicants and candidates for them. And then I have another half of our group that's working with the veteran job seeker. Why are you unemployed? What are you looking for? What training can we get you into? And how do we fast track you into employment programs? I also have regional employment coordinators all across the country that are working with our larger employers to find out local initiatives. So what you need to do is have some kind of action plan. Affirmative action plan is phenomenal because it's a blueprint of what you need to do, but utilizing your funnel of going through what do I need and how do I do it. The first and foremost is you want to connect with your director of your state for Veterans Employment and Training Service, and you want to go to that director and go, what resources do I have? What tools can you provide my company and my organization? And it does not matter the size of the company, the size of the organization. You'll get the same quality, the same level of services. So you're going to come to Levi in Kansas and go, hey, what can you do for me? Well, I've got my job centers spread across the state. I got 4 dedicated individuals that can search for job candidates for you. I can get you access to all 3 military installations, McConnell Air Force Base, Fort Riley, and Fort Leavenworth. They're going to have different recruiting pools and different recruiting options. You're not going to get into my TAP program, but I'm going to talk about you in my TAP program because in our TAP program, we say look at registered apprenticeships, look at in-demand jobs, and look at good careers that you can go with. So it's that funnel approach that's been talked about many times of utilizing all those resources. The benefit is they're all going to be free. You're not going to pay for it. You've already done it with your tax dollars. It's going to cost you, though, because it's going to take time. So it's making sure the recruiters know what they need to do. I enjoyed the Recruiter Bootcamp workshop because it breaks it down. There's only so many hours in a day. What are you going to do? Utilize Department of Labor resources within your day to maximize your impact. 200,000 service members are getting out of the military every year. 99% are going straight into employment. If you want them, let us connect you.
How many of you are aware of the Employment Navigator Pilot Program? There exists, well, I know you do. My organization was one of the first ones selected for it. There exists counselors in 30 locations across the country at military bases who literally talk to people in transition about career training opportunities, registered apprenticeship, and link them directly to that, like through us. They link them through us. We hand them out to our employer partners, link them to Jafi or other employers. So there's another added benefit to recruiting and retention right there. Okay, it really would like your core content for those, especially who've built and managed programs here, because what it really comes down to, if somebody wants to engage in that population, there's best practices. There's things that make sense. There's things tried and true. Right? Here we got been there, done that. So you're going to get best practices. I want to know from everybody here, in your mind, best practices as from an employer's perspective, smaller carrier, larger carrier, and from your perspective, being with DOL vets and vets as a whole. And if you can add anything there that truly lends itself to being different between, because as you said it before, do you like vets? Well, if you don't like vets, you probably should leave. Might be a short conversation. Are you vet friendly? Well, everybody says they're vet friendly, generally speaking, but really, are you vet ready? Because vet ready is where you build a culture and you get real retention, and they bring other people who are a lot like them who will serve in your company and serve as examples for everyone else. That's what you're trying to build. So what are best practices in your mind? And whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I think you described that great. How many out here know what between military friendly and military ready are? So we talk about this a lot in the military world at military conferences and stuff. You can be a military friendly company. Yes, I love veterans, I'm going to hire them. That's great. That's your first step, and that's where you want to be if you don't have that military program available. That includes hiring military spouses as well. But to be a military ready or a veteran ready company is creating that culture. Do you have military support within your associates? Do they know how to talk to veterans when they are calling in looking for employment? Do they understand the needs of the veterans once they are hired on? Because once they're hired on, you still need to continue that. They really strive for that community because they had that in the military and they want that in a company. So having a military ready company is very important to the veteran when they're looking for an employer to work at. With that, do you have an employee resource group specific to veterans or veteran spouses that they can join? Having all of these into a program and calling yourself military ready is extremely important. But to add on to that, I want to add on to the holistic approach to the veteran. Veterans have specific needs. If you're a truck driver, how many have veterans and they need to be home for a VA appointment, a medical appointment? How do we get them home? Those appointments are 6 months, a year out, and they cannot miss it. They're going to be rescheduled for another 6 months to a year out. So it's really important as an organization to be able to get that veteran home for those appointments. Their mental well-being, their being healthy is very important to say that you are military ready.
And very important to retention. Again, they'll bring you a lot more like them with the work ethic. They're trainable, that can overcome obstacles, and don't think that every meal has to be a feast and every day a holiday.
I think that goes to like word of mouth. If you're going to treat these veterans well, they have plenty of other veterans that they're staying in contact with, their friends, their buddies from other installations across the United States, across the world, that they're going to say, hey, come here. They treat you extremely well. And by word of mouth, that's going to spread and more people are going to come to you.
I'm going to reinforce that point. Chris Gonzalez, you back here? All right, Chris, you're in the United States Army. Yep, you served in a time of conflict, and you have gone through your trials like many of us. You've come out the other side and been a shining beacon for a lot of people. We've discussed this. If another veteran, especially one you can relate to, and can relate to your circumstances, tells you that an employer is a good bet, that means more to you than $1 million worth of advertising. Would you agree with that statement? Yeah. It's 100% accurate. And again, I've helped employ about 18,000 of them now, and we've gotten more out of word of mouth and testimonials to someone and know someone else Because the reality is this: if you're a veteran, he's a Marine, but he's a Marine infantry guy. I was an Army infantry guy. I jumped out of planes. He jumped out of planes. We understand each other. Even the Air Force person over here, I understand a little bit.
I'm just
Okay.
smarter than you, that's all.
I never said you weren't. I never said you weren't. Okay? I'm the one that ran around in the woods and the jungles and with the ticks and everything else. You were in a hotel room. I get it. I understand. So, but the point is that I will listen to what he has to say or she has to say or Chris has to say about something from their perspective, and I will give it more gravitas and more weight than what a recruiter says or what I read online or anything else, period, all day long. And I will tell you that I've been working with programs that have engaged veterans and veteran-ready programs for 7 years now, and they have 20, 30% higher retention than the drivers they're just bringing on otherwise, and that's because they have had veterans talk to other veterans who have brought those people in, and they have been vet-ready. And I get passionate about this, but it is very true. I interrupted, but please go ahead, Josh.
No, I was going to say too, when it comes down to being vet ready, when the appointment times do come up, and they're going to pop up, don't give them grief when they have to go home. If they have to take the time off for leave, let them go, support them. It's really important to support our veterans as they have those appointments, because just our actions in those moments. I've had some interactions with dispatchers in my past where I had one of my drivers who was still in the Guard, and he had to go for his reserve weekends, and he had given the weekends, the full year in advance because they have the schedule. And there was a little bit of miscommunication on the front side, and my candidate called me, and we were able to get it sorted out, and it was never another issue. And about a year and a half later, he came back, and he's like, "Thank you for doing that. We appreciate you stepping up and taking care of it." And as a result, we get referrals. We get his buddies, and to your point, it's the word of mouth that gets out there as well. So support them, whatever they need. These men and women are going to be solid workers. They've got the solid work history, and it's very well documented too if you know what you're looking for. So you can see that on the front side. But again, it comes down to our actions. I think those are much louder than just the words that we say in our advertising and everything too.
Thank you. Levi, you got anything to add?
America's fighting force is the finest in the world. The recruitment standards the military sets forth, what it takes to get in the military, what it takes to stay in the military is going to have the top performing people. And it's a family and a brotherhood, a sisterhood that's going to stay connected and tight. Like we heard earlier about giving referral bonuses and things like that. If you can get your veterans in your organization advertising, our community is so tight and so cliquish with our own websites, our own Facebook feeds, Instagram feeds. They're going to talk and communicate. If you're doing the right things and making it easy and making it accessible, you're going to have the wins. If you're difficult or problems, everyone's going to know and they're going to go back to the winning side. It's going to be a very quick process.
So, general question: anybody know how many people historically would qualify to be in the military from a percentage standpoint? Do you know, Levi?
Got the numbers down.
You got the number?
Yeah. Got the numbers.
He did homework. Go ahead.
So go ahead and give your numbers, because we've got a variety of just the number of veterans, and you've got either 5 to 10% of the population as veterans just themselves.
But how many of the population qualifies for military service right now?
Right now, I think we're about almost to single digits.
It is 4%. Is the highest ratio that have qualified in the last 2 decades. That means only 4% of the population walk around are qualified to join the United States military. If you really wrap your brain around that, it's pretty intimidating. So if you start thinking about engaging veteran and transitioning service members, you're talking about engaging the top 4%. From a perspective. Now, are all of them great and all of them going to, no. There's no one population that's going to have 100% of everything. But by and large, you're going to get people who know how to show up on time and pass a drug screen and problem solve. And somebody once asked me, well, what do they know about logistics? Well, the United States military moves cities into places where they're unwanted. And these cities operate 24/7, and they handle their own sanitation. They handle their own food supply. They handle their own security. They handle every aspect of it. That's not logistics. I don't know what is. Okay, I really appreciate it. It's been a fantastic panel. I appreciate you all taking the time and lending your expertise.